but we have a long agenda, so we're going to get started. And Mr. Steffens, I see that we are now recording. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Oh, could you let Charla in, please? She came in through the public side.
Just did.
Okay, call to order the City of Sumner City Council meeting. The date is February the 16th and the time is 6:02. As a reminder, council members and staff are attending this meeting virtually as City Hall remains closed because of Governor Inslee's Healthy Washington Recovery Roadmap. His order, which is a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic, and public has been invited to attend the meeting via the Zoom link and the call-in information that's on our website and also on the council agenda. And with that, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And Art, you are here. There you are. You're back and you're unmuted. So if we could call on you for an invocation, thank you.
Okay, let's pray together. Oh Lord, we pray for our bitterly divided country tonight. Help us to come together again and become the nation you've called us to be. Lord, we pray also that you might guide and help us to conquer the deadly virus in its various forms that is devastating our country and the world today. We pray for those whose families have lost loved ones in this terrible disease. Oh Lord, help us care for the sick and homeless, especially in this cold winter weather. And Lord, we pray for our mayor, council, police, and fire departments, and all others who do so much to make our city such a wonderful place to live and work. And finally, Lord, we pray for this council meeting that you would guide and bless the decisions made here tonight. In the name of our Lord, amen.
Thank you very much, Art, and have a nice evening, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. With that, Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Potato,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Hayden,
Here.
Hamilton,
Here.
Hochstetter,
Here.
Newman,
Here.
Reed.
Here.
All council members are present. We'll move on, and we have a presentation tonight. The Pierce County Health Department. We're blessed to have Nigel Turner, who's the Division Director for the Office of Communicable Disease. I think I got that one right, Nigel. If not, you will correct me. And welcome.
Thank you, Matt Pugh, members of the council. Yes, my name is Nigel Turner. I'm the Division Director of Communicable Disease Control at Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. I'm also one of the incident commanders for our current unified response to the COVID pandemic, working out of our county EOC, along with many folks from many agencies, and in really a great coming together of folks across the county to respond to this. Thanks for the opportunity. I will talk just briefly about where we're at in the pandemic and then focus on the vaccine, if that's okay, and there'll be time for questions at the end. So again, our eyes are on ending this pandemic, returning our communities to normal, getting our kids back in school, our businesses back in place, and ending this terrible threat to the health of our most vulnerable in our community. The good news is that our case numbers are declining. They've declined for the last few weeks. We're now at a level of about 268 per 100,000. And just to give you some perspective on that, we haven't seen that level since November, when we had a spike and then a second spike. But that's still a very high level of disease transmission in our community. If you remember early on, we were looking at keeping it below 25. We're still much, much higher than that. Furthermore, our rate of positivity, which is the percentage of tests that are coming back positive, is about 9%. So it's still a lot of disease out there that and we need to make sure that we keep our control measures in place until we get vaccine levels up to a level where it's likely to control the disease. And we are getting vaccine out, but it's not at that level yet. So wanted to thank the Pierce County folks and City of Sumner for the partnership in our response in this work. And just to talk a little bit about our approach to the vaccine as it rolls out. In a nutshell, we have not enough vaccine right now. The rollout of vaccine to the health department, to the counties is much slower than the demand is out there. But we will take advantage of any vaccine that we can get and get it out to the people of Pierce County as quickly as we can. We're implementing a multimodal approach. It'll involve many different strategies. A lot of this is going out through healthcare providers. Remember, every year we get out hundreds of thousands of doses of flu vaccine in Pierce County. We're building on that system, but we're doing much more. As a health department, we're partnering with long-term care facilities, doing visits out to sites. We're doing drop teams to different shelters. We're also partnering with our Department of Emergency Management to do large throughput clinics, partnering also with Virginia Mason Franciscan Health and with Multicare to do large drive-through clinics, offering spaces to thousands per day. But it's really this overall strategy that's going to get us where we need to be. We are still in phase 1B, tier 1, which includes people over 65 and people 50 years and older who live in multi-generational households. Those in 1A, which is frontline health care workers, can still get vaccine, but we're still solidly in this 1A and 1B tier 1 and will be for the time being. Overall, the vaccine has been going out. We've had about 132,000 doses of vaccine have been administered in Pierce County. And nearly 21,000 people have received 2 doses or completed the regimen. So that's about 10% of the population have received at least 1 dose. So this is still at a level that we wouldn't expect to see it control the disease yet. We need to get a much higher level of what we call community immunity before that'll happen. So in terms of the drive-through clinics, as I say, we're working with our Department of Emergency Management to schedule those, but really the supply of vaccine coming from the State Department of Health, who receives it through the federal government, is very uneven, and it makes it very hard for us to notify folks a lot of time in advance of the clinics. So literally we find out on a Thursday how much vaccine we're going to get for the following week, and then we do the notifications out as soon as we possibly can. But it's a small amount of vaccine. We're getting about 25,000 doses in the county each week, and it's nowhere near meeting the demand just yet. So we are getting vaccine levels up, but I think it's also important to recognize that it's not even across the populations of the county. We've seen with COVID, the disease, that different populations get the disease at different rates. Hispanic and Black residents have nearly twice the rate of infection as white residents. And we're sadly seeing this similarly with the rates of vaccination. They're much lower in those populations than they are in white residents. So we need to do more to get it out to those populations that most need it. So we're being innovative and implementing our Equity Action Network, which is a coordinated network of agencies and partners reaching those populations that we've used for communication and messaging. We're now using it to help organize and schedule some of these clinics going forward. So with the goal of really achieving that equity so we can really bring down the rates overall. We're also looking to remove technology barriers, recognizing that websites and trying to catch that magic 15 minutes of when the space is available really isn't an equitable approach. So we've tripled the staff to our call center here at the health department and really beefed that up to help people navigate through the process. And as more spaces get available, I really encourage people to use that. We've also implemented on our website, people can sign up for email alerts when clinics become available. So really encourage folks to use that overall. We're also reaching out to specific populations such as the homeless that were impacted that. We got vaccine out to service providers that are working with that population. And when they become eligible in 1B tier 4, we'll be doing clinics targeting that population. I think I just want to add one more thing, and I'll open up for questions. Is in addition to vaccination, we really want to focus as well on testing. We still have disease in our community, and it's vitally important that we still do testing so that we can identify cases and then work with them to get their contacts identified and support those both through isolation and quarantine to reduce transmission in the community. This remains one of our real strong tools until we get a high level of immunization to control the pandemic overall. So there's lots of testing available in our community. Please check out our website for a site near you, or there's different options that are coming up through pharmacies and different locations. So please keep a word on that. And lastly, just a word about the Washington Roadmap to Recovery. As you know, we are in phase 2. And the key metrics there that we look at is our overall disease incidence rate, which is decreasing as we described, as well as the test positivity. And that's why we need to keep the testing up, so we can keep that positivity down and help keep us in phase 2, which we very much want. The other two measures are hospitalizations and ICU capacity. And the good news there is ICU capacity remains fairly good, and overall hospitalizations have decreased to a level I haven't seen in a couple of months. So that's good news. But again, we really want to keep the emphasis there to keep us moving forward through these phases to, again, reopen our community as rapidly as we can. So with that, thank you so much for your support and partnership going through this. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Nigel. I'll call on Councilmember Botetto.
Could you give us the phone number for calling the health department to
253 798 6500.
Okay, 6500. Yeah, that'll be helpful for people that, I know our neighbor doesn't have a computer, and we had to help her. So I'm glad to hear you're increasing the number of staff answering calls.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilmember Botetto. Councilmember Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. Nigel, on that phone number, is it difficult to get through? Is it one of those lines that you kind of have to be lucky to be able to reach somebody, or is it heavily staffed where people are able to make contact?
We've heavily staffed it. We've tripled the staff, and we'll add more. Whatever we need to do to get folks through to live body. Now, obviously, you can't guarantee it at any one time, but our intention is very much to provide that point of contact.
Okay. And on a personal note, I want to say thank you for the health department's handling as a recent participant of the infectious side. Health department not only did they contact me with some great information, but they provided, a couple days later, I had 2 boxes at my door, one day for a deep cleaning house kit and the other a care package. So it was an interesting process.
Yeah, so one of our focuses is really to support people on home isolation and quarantine and make sure they get the resources they need. We also connect people to, for example, rental assistance if they need to, anything to help people stay home.
Okay. Any other council members? Any questions for Nigel? Wow. I think Nigel did a great job, covering all the areas, and I know you're dealing with the challenges of supply side, and it's got to be frustrating from a staff standpoint. But what you've done in terms of your mass vaccination, efforts, increasing, the access, to the vaccine through the telephones and stuff, are addressing all the issues that you hear about, and I'm sure that the council members hear about and that we see. It's like the 90-year-old neighbors across the street from us. They couldn't navigate through a laptop. They don't have that, or desktop. They had to try to call, and they just spent all day, didn't get anywhere. So addressing that is vital if we're going to address that segment of the population. So outstanding job, continue the great work. And with more vaccine from the federal government, we'll get this thing under control.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, try to get some time off tonight, Nigel.
Oh, it'll be a few more emails to get through, I'm afraid.
Okay, take care, sir. Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Michelle, could you please read the consent agenda?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the regular council meeting of February 1st, 2021 and the February 8th, 2021 study session. Item 2, approval of the electronic payments and checks in the amount of $2,592,719.79. Item 3, 2021 through 2022 on-call consultant services contracts awards. Item 4, State Route 167, Washington State Department of Transportation detour agreement. Item 5, Academy Street bicycle lanes consultant supplement for final design.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Does any council member wish to have any of the consent agenda items removed to be considered separately? Any items you wish to be removed can be considered separately. Seeing none, can I get a motion by the deputy mayor for approval of the consent agenda?
Yeah, I move to adopt the consent agenda as read.
Okay, could I get a second by council member Hochstetter?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you very much. All those in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, I didn't hear that many ayes, but I didn't hear any nays, so the ayes have it. Okay, now we'll move on to public hearing. The public hearing involves the 2020 comprehensive plan update. And with that, I will call on Ann Siegenthaler, our associate planner, to cover the topic before I open the hearing. Go ahead, Ann.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pugh and city councilors. I'll just quickly, for the benefit of our property owners and customers who may be listening in tonight, I wanted to go quickly through a short slide presentation. Most of our councilors have seen this already. So if I may have someone allow me to share my screen. Can I go ahead and do that? Okay. Thank you. Is that visible to everyone? You should see the 2020 comprehensive plan update. I see nods. Thank you. So this public hearing is the second public hearing in this 2020 comprehensive plan update process that we've been working on since January of 2020. And as most of you know, we're going through this comprehensive plan update process because there are some changes that we needed to make, some housekeeping changes, and we also had some requests from property owners for some map changes. And the state allows us to do that every 1 to 2 years. So we're looking at the different goals and policies in the comprehensive plan. We're looking at potential map updates to not only the comprehensive plan map, but also to the zoning map and the zoning regulations. And we are now at February 2021. We're at the City Council public hearing. We've had a number of meetings with the Planning Commission since January of 2020. We had a number of study sessions through summer and fall. We had one public hearing with the Planning Commission on December 3rd of 2020, and the Planning Commission provided their recommendations on all of the proposals as a packet on January 7th of 2021. And then that's forwarded to the council to review the Planning Commission's recommendations and then to make any changes deemed necessary, and move forward to adoption. Adoption, we're targeting March of this year for adoption. I'm sorry, go back. The process has included a number of public outreach efforts from staff. I won't go through this entire list, but we've had public outreach going on since the summer of 2019. We had a number of virtual public open houses. We have had a number of postings on what we call our Sumner Connects website. And we've had actually really good response there. We've had 154 people so far engaged and taking part in surveys and asking questions and so forth. And we've had 457 participants who are informed, who looked at videos, who downloaded documents and so on. So it's been good to see that kind of interest and participation in the process. So again, more public outreach listed here. We sent a number of postcards and mailings regarding upcoming public hearings and mailings regarding the proposed rezones. And I'll provide some additional public comments that we've received so that those are entered into the record. And the last notice that was sent out just before tonight's hearing, we sent out the notice of the public hearing with the City Council, and that was a notice that was published citywide. And we also sent postcards to all of our East Sumner neighborhood property owners so that they would know about this. We did have, before I get into our overview of documents, we have 2 public comments that were received tonight. We have one from Mr. Lynn from on behalf of Mr. Al Esquera, who is an East Sumner neighborhood property owner. And that was previously provided to the City Council, I believe, at the study session. So you all have that letter. We also have an email with some comments from another East Sumner neighborhood property owner, and that's Ms. Whitney Bort. She owns the salon over on 64th, and her concern is about the proposed rezone in the East Sumner Central neighborhood and how that might affect her plans to expand off the back of her property, to expand her business. And I believe the city clerk has provided that additional letter to the city councilors tonight. Is that correct? Okay, I see nods, thank you. This is a very comprehensive plan package. It's very detailed, a lot of parts. I'll go through those quickly. The first part of this is proposals from individual property owners and staff proposals. And those include a number of map changes and also a couple of no map changes, but zoning code text amendments and comprehensive plan policy updates. This is a map of, it's a little hard to see, but it's a map of where all the proposed map changes are, from Houston Road over on the west, the school district parcels along Mason Street and downtown, and some central business district parcels along Main Street that are proposed to change to neighborhood commercial. And then we have the East Sumner neighborhood plan area that includes a number of proposed zoning changes. And there's a larger map of this that I think you have all seen. The other parts of this comprehensive plan update include an update to our critical areas regulations, which are essentially our wetlands regulations, adopting a new East Sumner plan itself, and adopting an East Sumner planned action ordinance. Then we have this very large environmental impact statement. Right now we have a draft environmental impact statement that's part of the Planning Commission and the Council's packet. And just prior to adoption by the council, we'll have the final environmental impact statement. And then we'll also have a number of ordinances adopting the changes that have been presented to you. This is the Houston Road proposal to orient everyone. This is the old cannery. The Houston Road proposal is to ask for a map change from a general commercial designation to a light industrial designation for about a 7-acre site over in that area. The other proposal, this is a staff generated proposal to change the central business district zoning for 4 sites downtown Main Street to neighborhood commercial, because we're retiring, if you will, the old central business district zone. And the neighborhood commercial zone is really the most comparable zone next to that in terms of regulations and uses allowed. So that's another part of this proposal. Again, the school district has proposed creating a new map designation for their parcels called public and private utilities and facilities. And that proposed map change would just better reflect the types of uses that the school anticipates there. The school owns those parcels, and that would be consistent with the uses. We have a proposal for adding some zoning code regulations related to craft coffee roasting downtown. And this would occur in the historic district, only in the town center plan area. And this would allow some small retail businesses to roast small amounts of coffee as part of their retail business, to roast that on site, versus what they would have to do now under the code is go locate out in an industrial zone. So that should bring some interest and hopefully additional people to the downtown area and help support our businesses downtown. Staff is also proposing what we call an innovation district, which would be a floating overlay that could hopefully encourage innovative, small R&D types of businesses, artisanal and craft businesses, to locate in Sumner in areas that they might not otherwise be able to locate. So this gives us, as staff and the community development director, a little more flexibility to encourage some of those innovative businesses to locate here. Then we have a number of miscellaneous housekeeping updates, removing old zones, updating some lists and tables in the comprehensive plan, and a number of other housekeeping corrections. The big part of this proposed 2020 update is an update to the East Sumner neighborhood plan. And this would update the 2015 East Sumner neighborhood plan. It would remove the 62nd Street extension that was proposed through the central wetlands area. And if it were adopted, it would promote the central wetlands area to go from a general commercial zone to a resource protection zone. It would change one area of commercial to high density residential, and it would change one area of low density residential to medium density residential. We had a hard time seeing this map at the last council meeting, but I can pull up another map. And I believe most of our property owners have seen a larger map and talk to me about what's being proposed in this central wetlands area. The East Sumner neighborhood plan also includes some updates to our multifamily residential regulations to encourage a variety of housing types out there. It supports multi-use corridors. This is a circulation map from the plan that sets the stage for trying to create some pedestrian and bicycle circulation paths throughout the neighborhood to provide that connectivity that helps create a pedestrian oriented neighborhood and walkable neighborhood. The critical areas regulations update is as a result of what we're doing in the East Sumner neighborhood plan. Once we started looking at the wetlands and the rezone in the central wetlands area, it occurred to us in working with the Planning Commission that we needed some updates to our critical areas regulations to add some clarifications, ensure that we had adequate non-conforming use provisions and so on. So while these are considered mostly minor, Staff feels they're important because they help property owners understand what they can do when they have wetlands on their properties. And we also have what's called the East Sumner Planned Action Ordinance. And this is a special SEPA environmental review for projects that qualify for this special process. Early on in the planning stages during the development of the environmental impact statement, our consultant identifies the potential impacts of the various development scenarios out in East Sumner and looks at mitigation measures. And so all of those impacts and mitigation measures are identified early on in the process. And then the planned action ordinance establishes some criteria and some thresholds so that if a project comes in later and it meets those criteria and thresholds, it can qualify for this streamlined environmental review. And it's very helpful for developers. It streamlines their permitting process later on. The last big part of this package is the environmental impact statement. And this EIS covers everything that's in your packet, all the plans, the codes, the rezones, and it analyzes a range of impacts, looks at what mitigation measures we have in place. And in our particular case this year, the conclusion was there really are no significant impacts. Things move around the city a little bit, but there are no significant impacts that are not mitigated. And as part of the review process for the environmental impact statement, we did have a 30-day comment period, and we also opened the comment period to the public, to East Sumner neighborhood owners, and to agencies. And then as part of your adoption process, you have 4 ordinances that implement all of these various map changes and text changes that we've been discussing. So that's in your packet. And then finally, to conclude, once we are finished with the public hearing, there's an opportunity to review public comments, and then adoption is tentatively scheduled for March 15th. But we'll leave that up to the council to see how comfortable you are moving forward with that. And that's it. I thank you for your time and letting me run through that again.
Thank you very much, Ann. You covered a lot of ground with a lot of issues. And I see that Councilmember Newman has raised their hand. I want to remind the council this is the public hearing time and time for us to hear from them. But if you have a clarifying question, go ahead, Councilmember Newman.
I can wait until after we hear from public.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Newman. What I'd like to do is open the hearing. The time is 6:34. I'd like to reiterate a couple things that Ann talked about, and that is in terms of public comment received. For the record, is that we received one from Mr. Bill Lynn on behalf of property owner Mr. Al Esquera, and also an email from Whitney and Tyler Bort. Just for the record, you received both of those. So we're going to go through the virtual process of getting public comment, which will mean that if you want to address the council on this issue as part of the public hearing, you'll need to, if you're using, if you come in through the Zoom portal, you'll need to use the raise your hand feature. And if you do that, then I'm going to ask Mr. Steffen's help in bringing you over on a panelist so you can be on the record. So, or if you're calling in, you would press *9 on your phone to do the same thing. So if there's anybody that is attending the meeting that wants to address the council on this issue, please use the raise your hand feature or *9 on your phone. Okay. We have one, I think that's Al Esquera. And then we have John, I think it's Troop, and then Mary Urbach. And then Clay McCann. So we'll go in that order so far. So Mr. Steffens, could you upgrade Al? There he is. Okay, Al, I think right now your video feed is muted along. Yeah, okay, now you've just unmuted yourself.
Hello, everyone.
There you are. Thank you, sir. Go ahead. And we're trying to limit it to about 3 minutes, if that's okay.
Yes, that's great. I wrote everything down, so I won't go over.
Okay.
Can someone allow me to show a map?
Well, someone probably could, but that would not be me. Mr. Steffens?
You should be able to share your screen at this point.
Okay. Thank you. Can everybody see this?
Yes, we can now.
Great.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to show the map that I got from the internet, from the website, and just showing the wetlands as they're proposed, as they're seen. And I just wanted to show where my property was, because it came up in the last meeting, and so I just wanted to show that this is where my property is, if the outlined in red. And then this is the wetlands that now have been from the last wetland study. And so the yellow area, of course, is that's that zone, the buffer zone, and this is what will be left of my property right here, going on 64th Street. So you can kind of see how it's really quite affected me a lot. But let me just go ahead and read what I've written, so I won't go over the 3 minutes. So just recognizing the rezoning, resource protection is really the most restrictive zoning in the city. The maps the city are using now show various vastly increased areas of wetland and buffers. So 2/3 of my property is in the process of being rezoned and therefore unusable. The cause of that increase has not been established. The economic impact is devastating to my neighbors and myself. The city was willing and able to help the YMCA and other property owners with their wetland mitigation, but stopped short of extending the same consideration to nearby residents. There have been studies on the environmental impact, the city impact, the traffic impact, but really the consideration for the financial impact of the property owners, I think, really hasn't been addressed. The new wetland maps are a low resolution, so they've been hard to see, not very clear, and seem arbitrary for use as legal maneuvers to allocate property use. Now our properties are being considered for a nature park. According to the videos on the website, and we ask for transparency in the planning and mapping of our land. No compensation has been offered, and future use has been limited to the plans the city already has proposed. The RES zoning makes the land virtually unusable for any meaningful private use. The dramatic limit use is unfair and unnecessary. Let us have an opinion to mitigate our own land if we choose. We would like to see an impact study on the financial loss of property owners that happen to be situated where a nature park is being proposed. And we want the city to allow us to mitigate our properties or compensate for land being used for the city, brought up in planning meetings, but never, this idea was brought up, but never really has been addressed since the meetings. And so that's really all I had to say. Hopefully it didn't go over too much.
No, you did a good job. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Esquera. Okay. Now we'll move on to John. Is it John Troop? Jeff, if you could upgrade John. Go ahead, John, and unmute yourself and start your video if you so desire.
There we go. Good evening. So my client owns 2 parcels that are east of the veterinary boarding clinic or whatever all that is. And the map that gentleman Al had up there, that seems to be different than the one that Ann had out there. It looked like the wetlands was extending into the back or the south portion of my client's 2 parcels. So there's a couple things that we talked about years ago that I guess the city was going to use the property at the southeast corner of 60th and Sumner Taps as kind of a retention area. And then there was also talk about mitigating some of the wetlands to the golf course. And I guess those have kind of gone by the wayside. I guess what we want to know is how much square footage is actually taken away by the wetlands and the buffer area. And if maybe even that buffer area could be mitigated somehow. So, because the different maps show different sections of the property that's still available for development. So I don't know if those are all questions or that can be answered.
They're questions, but at a public hearing, we'll take your questions and we'll, take your comments, Mr. Trout, and then you can have some conversations, with staff, but really you don't get into the back and forth in terms of question and answer period, during a public hearing.
Okay, so are those some answers that we could get?
We can certainly work on it. I know as part of the process, the council is taking, testimony and questions from persons like yourself now, and those are issues that they have to look at and consider before taking final action, on all of this.
And the final action is March. What's the date on that?
I think it was, you were right now, I think Ann was talking about March, but that ultimately is determined by the city council, depending upon the information that they have and when they feel comfortable taking action.
Okay, and then the other thing, the questions that Al, I don't know his last name, about possible compensation or anything like that, would all those, will there be something put together that covers all the questions I asked and Al asked, and I think there's another person going to be speaking shortly too. Is there going to be some kind of a document that says, this is what Al asked and this is what John asked?
Certainly the issues that are outlined, that all of you are outlined tonight, are part of the record. And,
okay.
I would assume that the council would want information, answers to those questions before, they make a, decision, a final decision.
Okay. And then just one other thing, my client, it was said that the wetlands biologist wasn't able to access their property. And I don't know why that was, but because he never told anybody they couldn't come on his property. So
yeah, that one I don't know the answer to one either, Mr. Trout. But
okay.
Yeah,
no worries.
We can certainly get back to you on that one.
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay, hey, thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Jeff, the next person we have is Mary Urbach. You can please upgrade her. There you are. You're coming through both visual plus audio. Go ahead, Mary.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, council members. I'm Mary Urbach, representing Sumner Bonnie Lake School District. I'm their land use attorney. Long-range planning staff has really done a thorough and careful review of the district's request to change the designations of the parcels on Mason and Wood Avenue and the 3 parcels on Main and Meeker Avenue to public, private utilities and facilities. The Growth Management Act focuses on consistency of land uses and the comprehensive plan policies of cities and counties. Here, the redesignation of those parcels to the land use designation of PPUF aligns with a number of your city comprehensive plan policies. For example, under economic development element policy 5.4, it states, give downtown locations highest priority when citing city and government facilities. And then on page 47 of your comprehensive plan, it says that land intended to be used for public facilities should be designated under the city's public facilities land use designation. The language states the primary purpose of this designation is to identify lands utilized to provide public and private facilities and services. Allowable uses include parks, schools, medical facilities, public and private utilities. And then also I'd like to just direct your attention to RCW 36.70A.040 of the Growth Management Act, which directs that counties and cities planning shall ensure that adoption of amendments to their comprehensive plan provide sufficient capacity of land suitable for development, including the accommodation of educational facilities. The PPUF designation, therefore, as staff indicated in its November 19th, 2020 staff memo, provides clarity not only to the district, but to the community of the intended uses of the parcels, which adjoin the main campus at 1707 Main Street. Therefore, the district respectfully requests your approval as recommended by the Planning Commission of the land use redesignation to public, private utilities and facilities. I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Urbach. Okay. Next, we have Clay McCann. Jeff, if you could do your magic. Okay, Clay was there. And then there he is. Sorry, you're there, Clay. You have to unmute yourself. There you are.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilman. Hey, I had maybe it was just a comment on that map that Ann brought up earlier about the wetlands. And I know that the city owns a big chunk along the Taps Highway there, and that wasn't included in the map. Maybe it was already designated, I guess, maybe as wetlands. And the map just shows the other properties involved in that. And another question or comment I had on I need some clarity on the preservation part of wetlands. I understand wetlands, but the preservation part, it seems to me that it's going to lock it up for like forever. And the other comment I have, because I can't ask questions, is that I don't understand. Is this a way for the land to be taken or be devalued to acquire it with little cost? I don't understand that. So that's just the comments I wanted to make. And I'm just grateful that I had this opportunity. I know it's my mother-in-law's property. She's 86 years old. She keeps asking questions, and so I'm just here to make comments for her. And I'm just hoping that if there is a day that I do try to sell this property, that I would get a fair market value for it and not wetland preserved, because her property is on 60th, and it's on the far right side of that brown, and all of her property is either wetlands or in the buffer zone. So it's really uncomfortable knowing that that's going to happen. And so I'm just so thankful that I could be here tonight. So thank you, sir. Thank
you very much, Mr. McCann. Okay, Next, we have Tyler Bort. If you could please upgrade Tyler. Hey, Tyler, you're unmuted.
Hi, is it working?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Drop it.
Okay, it's actually Whitney Bort.
Yeah, I
Tyler's
sort
my
of got that
husband.
one, Whitney, after you started
Okay,
speaking.
okay. So yeah, we just kind of wanted to say that we kind of agree with Al, and I think it was Clay. We're just concerned, like the two of them, that the land is just going to be taken and we're not going to be able to use it. We bought that lot in hopes to expand the business. So, you know, if the opportunity is taken from us, we probably wouldn't have ever even purchased it to begin with. So yeah, since we can't ask any questions, that's kind of just our comments. We're just concerned with everyone else, and you know, that's all I can say.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Whoops. Okay, somebody's still got their mic on. Still has their audio on. Okay, is there anybody else that would like to comment at this public hearing? Again, please just use the raised your hand feature. If you're calling in, it would be *9. Mr. Trout, you already spoke once, and so I'm not gonna call on you again. Anybody else that hasn't addressed the council that so desire? Okay. That being the case, so you already have your hands raised, but I'm going to close the public hearing at 6. Go ahead, Ann.
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did want to make sure that it is known for the record that we did receive other public comments during this process. We received public comments at the Planning Commission hearing from others, Sharon Bartkowski, Corliss Resources, George Jostin, and James Lindsay, who those are others who have not spoken tonight, but their comments were included in the overall record that the council has access to. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. And I realize the public process has been going on for a long time on this before the Planning Commission, and there has been other information and other input that's been received. So thank you. Again, okay, close the hearing at 6:54. Councilmember Reed, I see your hand is raised. Again, I'll say the same thing I did to Councilmember Newman, is that, you know, now is not the time to, you know, comment on this issue. You will have time, you know, into the future, but if you have some clarifying statement or question.
Two clarifying questions, actually. Kind of repeated a little bit from council session last week. Just to refresh that, the lines being established in the East Sumner plan for the wetlands are not, I don't want to say arbitrary lines, but they're ones based on studies that have recently been done. It's not that we're not going out and just drawing a line. That was one of my questions. And then the other was that that with the establishment of those wetlands, there are still, if somebody chose to make that investment, there's still an opportunity or option for them to mediate that section.
Well, I'm not going to get into the answering those questions. I think those are questions which we can address in the future. You know, when the council goes over the record that was just, you know, provided by interested, you know, citizens, and certainly you would probably want answers to those questions prior to moving forth with any decisions. So if that's okay, for the record, those are two issues and issues that you would wish to be addressed down the line. Okay. Okay, I don't see any more hands raised by council members, and the hearing has been closed. So we're going to move on to regular business. Excuse me while I clear my screen a little bit here. There is no unfinished business, and we move on to public comment. And again, as a reminder for the participants, public comment is for somebody that wants to address the council for any issue that is not on the agenda. So if there's any of the attendees that wish to address the council for any issue that is not on the agenda, please indicate by using the raise your hand feature or by pressing *9 if you're phoning in. Anybody that would like to address the council on any issue that is not on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment and we will move on to new business. First, we have on new business is ordinance number 2762. That's a budget amendment to park development. And I would call on a motion by Council Member Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move we approve ordinance number 2762, amending the 2021-22 budget, biennial budget.
Thank you. Could I get a second by Council Member Potato?
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I would call on Community Services Manager Derek Berry. Mr. Berry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. The ordinance before you is for a budget amendment for $135,000, allowing the recently acquired Bennett property to begin initial site work and the hiring of a consultant to do a work plan or a park plan. The initial site work will include asbestos and lead testing, abatement, demolition, some vegetation removal, environmental work, and planning. The parks plan portion may include public outreach, development plans, engineering drawings, specifications, cost estimates. The goal is to have those plans ready in the next 12 months so that we're ready for the next round of RCO grants and we can do some phased development. The funds being requested are park impact fees to help pay for this. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Berry. Any questions or comments from the council member? Questions for Mr. Berry or comments on this? Council Member Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Derek, I just wanted to clarify something that we had brought up previously. This is not like a surprise or new unanticipated cost. This is something that was anticipated before, but we didn't specifically allocate it until the time was appropriate, knowing that that would mean a budget amendment.
Correct. Yeah, we hadn't taken ownership until the very end of last year, Pat, when we were already done with the budget process.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments by council members? Okay, not seeing any hands raised. Are any members of the public attendees that wish to address the council on this issue? Again, please use the raise your hand feature. Okay, seeing none, Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Reed,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Newman,
Aye.
Hayden,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2762 is adopted unanimously. Move on to the second item, which is the Operations Facility Consultant Contract Amendment. And I would ask Councilmember Hochstetter for a motion.
Yes, I move authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to TCF Architecture's Consultant Services Contract for the Operations Facility Project, CIP 17-13, increasing the contract amount by $3,682,814 to a total authorized amount not to exceed $3,995,631,000 substantially in a form as approved by the city attorney.
I'll second.
Okay, that's been moved by Councilmember Hochstetter and seconded by Councilmember Newman. And I'm glad you were doing that, Councilmember Hochstetter, and not me.
Can we ask Cassandra if we could just round these numbers?
Anyway, okay, I call on Development Services Director Doug Beagle. Mr. Beagle.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm here tonight to talk about the amendment for the operations facility. In March of 2020, the city announced an request for qualifications for the design and construction management of the operations facility. City received 11 applicants, and we interviewed 5 and unanimously choosing TCF Architect as the clear winner of that process. And then in June of 2020, Council approved a contract with TCF to take our current needs assessment that was previously done and work with staff to collaborate on a preliminary design. At this time, we advised Council that this was a two-phase. There were 2 phases to this work. First phase being to come up with a preliminary design, and the second phase was to come back with the final design and construction management once we agreed upon a facility. And we reached out to shops personnel, parks personnel, fleet, public works, administration, police, and cemetery. And we were all engaged during this process, and we had held 3 workshops to work through the issues, as well as taking our needs assessment information, and came up with a finalized design. So this is what you have in front of you tonight. The Public Works Director and myself have negotiated the cost of this remainder of the work to complete this, to get it to be construction ready, design construction ready, and do the construction management services. On February 2nd, we took this amendment to the Public Works Committee, and they gave us a due pass, but wanted to have this presented as new business for the entire council to see the contract amendment. And with that, I will take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Beagle. Any questions, comments by council members? Any questions for Mr. Beagle or comments? Mr. Beagle, you're off the hook. Okay, any members of the public that would like to address the council on this issue? Any members of the public who would like to address the council? Okay, seeing none, Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Newman,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Hayden.
Yes.
The operations facility, the contract amendment is approved unanimously by the council. Move on to ordinance number 2761. It has to do with parking code text amendment. Call on Deputy Mayor Hayden for a motion.
Yeah, I move we pass ordinance number 2761, amending the parking code.
Okay, could I get a second by Councilmember Brown?
Yep. Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded by Deputy Mayor Hayden and Councilmember Brown. I would call on Development Services Director Ryan Windisch. Mr. Windisch.
Thank you, Mayor Pugh, members of the City Council. Ordinance number 2761 would amend the City of Sumner Parking Code and make a number of changes, including changing the 8-hour public parking lots to 4 hours in the downtown. The idea there is to discourage commuter parking and make enforcement easier. It would also change 2-hour on-street parking downtown to 3-hour parking. It would add additional 3-hour limits on North Street, again, to discourage commuter parking and make that available for customer and employee and business parking. It removes loading zones on Main Street, and outside of the downtown, it would prohibit parking on the west side of McMillan Avenue between 16th Street and Everett Street. And the reason for that is with parking on both sides, you don't have adequate width for emergency vehicles such as fire trucks. There are also some minor cleanups to the code. As you know, over the years, we've made numerous amendments to the code, and sometimes things don't always match up and follow up. So there are some changes for cleanup. These changes are based on 2 public surveys that we coordinated in coordination with the Sumner Main Street Association, and working closely with them on these changes as well. Staff's recommendation is to move to approve ordinance 2761, amending the parking code. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Windisch. Questions or comments from council members for Ryan? Wow. Okay. Seeing no questions or comments for Ryan, I guess you're off the hook too, Ryan. Any members of the public that would like to address the council on this issue? Okay. Seeing none, Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Newman,
Aye.
Hayden,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Hochstetter.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance number 2761 is adopted unanimously. Brings us to the last item under new business, which has to do with an Amazon donation. And I would call on Councilmember Reed for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we accept the $10,000 donation from Amazon for the Toy Box program.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Reed and seconded by Councilmember Newman. I would call on Police Chief Brad Morkey. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, members of the public and staff. What a great night. A lot of work before the council, and this is certainly one of the easiest asks of the night. As you know, Sumner Police Department, in partnership with the Sumner Bonnie Lake Family Center, we operate an annual holiday giving program known as the Sumner Toy Box. And this program provides toys and essentials for families with students within the Sumner schools. Last year, December 18th, 2020, through this program, we provided gifts and essentials for 170 families that had a collective 432 children that received gifts from this program. It's an absolutely amazing opportunity for community members in the police department to connect with the community they serve. And this program relies entirely on donations of toys, donations of funds, a lot of like-kind donations of space, time, sweat, and equity. And Amazon has participated for many, many years at different levels, between adopting families directly or providing materials and providing some financial support. But this year, we were notified in December that the Amazon Corporation would be donating $10,000 specifically for the Toy Box program. And a donation of this magnitude required some higher level corporate approvals from Amazon, and according to our city code, would require this council to officially accept that cash donation. I'd point out that there are no associated costs with this acceptance of this donation, and there's no obligation imposed by accepting this donation other than the donor's intent that the funds would be used for future Toy Box programs. So with that, I would ask this council to graciously accept Amazon's donation for the Sumner Toy Box.
Wow, it's a great item to end on, Chief. You
got 10,000 reasons to say yes.
Yes, exactly, and very well done. By your department. I mean, incredible. Questions, comments by council members? Go ahead, Councilmember Newman.
Not a question, just a comment. I just want to thank our police department and the city for making this program known well enough to even get on Amazon's radar to get donations like this. This this is also like, yes, it's a reflection of their generosity, but also their great work that you do and how, like, to make it even known.
Yep. Very well said. Any other comments? Okay. Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Potato,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes, and thank you.
Hayden,
A gracious yes.
Hochstetter,
Yes, thank you.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Newman.
Aye.
Okay, yeah, donation has now been officially accepted. And now you find time to comments, to make comments when you're doing your eyes, and anyway, never mind. Okay, gets us through the regular agenda. Now we're on to reports. First is reports by the city council. Councilmember Botetto.
I just want to thank the weather gods for dropping the snow on a nice 3-day weekend. And I think everybody enjoyed the snow, but we're glad that today it's pretty much gone. So, and then I too want to, Amazon, we see their little vans driving through town. So it's just nice to see that they're generous to us as well. That's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Botetto. I think half of them stop at our front yard. Anyway, Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, I would totally agree with Miss Potato. Everything she said, Amazon and the snow gods. Yep. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Hamilton.
Yeah, I would like to echo that as well with the toy box program, and Amazon donating is great. I know that my wife and I take the kids every year shopping, and we let them pick out a toy and we bring it to the police station to drop it in the toy box. So, you're giving the gift, but you're also showing the kids that it's nice to be generous and to give to those less fortunate. So it's a really great program.
Thank you, Councilmember Hamilton. Deputy Mayor Hayden.
Yeah, really, I just want to say thank you to Anne and the staff for the incredible work she's done on the East End. After reading the packet, 800 and some pages of a lot of words, a lot of work went into that. So thank you to the staff for all the work they put in that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I was going to reflect on that. I was trying to search through the packet up here on my screen and find something, but when it's 865 pages long, it gets to be, a challenge. I hope they didn't print all those out for any of those that wanted, written copies. Anyway, duly noted, Deputy Mayor Hayden. Councilmember Hochstetter.
Thank you, Mayor, but I have nothing this evening.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Hochstetter. Councilmember Newman.
None tonight.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Newman. Councilmember Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. Just part of the collective thank you to Amazon, and also the thank you for staff and all the hard work in the plan amendments. I know it's a never ending job, but it's definitely appreciated.
Thank you, Councilmember Reed. Move on to City Administrator report. And you might notice that Jason is not here with us tonight. That's because he was planning on taking vacation after this council meeting and then returning before the next one. And I told him, no, you're going to leave, when you thought you were going to leave, and let somebody else fill in so you can get some needed time off. The amount of hours and stuff that staff puts in, after a while, they need a break. And so he appointed Mr. Windisch as acting city administrator. So Mr. Windisch, this is your time. This is your moment. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Yeah, it's kind of a boss appreciation day for me. Appreciate all that Jason does, and glad to give a report. I do want to say the snow, we had crews out plowing the roads this last weekend, Public Works staff and park staff with their smaller snow plowing sidewalks, keeping areas clear for around City Hall and the parks as well. So they did a great job out there clearing the snow and keeping everybody safe. Next week's study session, we'll be talking about the street tree code amendments. That's been a long time coming, and it relates closely to the sidewalk code amendments that will also be discussed next week. And then there will be some discussion on council rules of procedure, amendments there that include remote meeting attendance and council vacancy process. And then our next regular meeting on March 1st, we'll have ordinances coming back regarding street tree code and the sidewalk code, as well as an ordinance amending the purpose of the Arts Commission. We're looking at other cities and examples of arts and culture commissions. So we bring an ordinance back regarding that. Some commission updates. The Arts Commission, they continue to work on their 2021 work plan, which includes murals and utility box artistic wraps. So that gives an opportunity to put some art in places where you might not otherwise see art in the downtown. And the Parks and Forestry Commission reviewed and provided input on the proposed changes to the street tree code. They've looked at that a number of times and provided input on that process. Some personnel things. We are now fully staffed at the public workshops. We welcome Lyle Moe, who transferred from the cemetery, and Brandon Miller, who's a new hire. He just started today. We are also fully staffed in our police department, which I understand has been a long time since we've been fully staffed there. Exceptional entry officer Joseph Perez Resop will be starting on March 1st. We are currently recruiting for an operator and laboratory position at the wastewater treatment facility. Information on our website is available for those positions. And that is all I have.
Well, very nicely done, Mr. Windisch. Yeah, I appreciate the summary and continue the tradition of good reports from the city administrator. So thank you. In terms of my comments, just a couple things. One of which is I did get feedback from at least a couple city residents regarding removal of snow from sidewalks, and one person very upset because we didn't remove the snow from their sidewalk, although we were removing snow from sidewalks adjacent to city property. So I think there has to be maybe we can do some more outreach efforts there in terms of this is a partnership between property owners and the city in terms of how we keep things safe. The other thing was I had my first experience at testifying before the legislature virtually this morning with House Bill 1521, which has to do with the streamlined sales tax, mitigation, and had a number of agencies and mayors testifying. As far north as the Marysville Arlington Manufacturing Industrial Center, and on down through Tukwila, and then down to us, all urging the legislature to provide some mitigation to offset our reduced revenue. So anyway, they did very well in terms of how they handled it. They gave you a unique code to sign in, and then all of a sudden, when I got to that particular bill, all of a sudden everybody was ushered, into when they could testify. And as soon as they were done testifying, all of a sudden you disappeared. You went back out in the audience. So they have somebody, whoever's doing this is doing a darn fine job. I could totally screw it up. Anyway, that was it. We do not have an executive session tonight. And so This meeting is adjourned at 7:21. Everyone enjoy the nicer weather and enjoy the green of the lawns rather than the white of the snow. And hopefully it won't be back again this year, or at least till summer. Take care, everyone.